of all the people on the planet to be talking about, quote, long COVID, how incredibly surprising is it that we have cream of the establishment crop toe the line no matter how hypocritical it makes you look, twist yourself into a pretzel, Olympic level mental gymnastics specialist Alyssa Milano talking about this. It obviously makes no sense. Long COVID, it's something that you just made up. It's a product of the media. Well, I mean, it's all been a product of the media and the politicians and the cabal and the World Economic Forum or whatever. But this makes absolutely no sense. I'm old enough to remember a time when you were supposed to quarantine for 14 days and then you were going to be in the clear. There was also a point in time where you were supposed to wait 2 weeks after the second dose of science before you could go into a gym or a bar or a movie theater. And then magically they said, well, how about you just get one, just to get a shot under the train tracks there, and then you can go into the movies. None of it made any sense, but there's no need to rehash the insanity of the last 2 years. So let's see what Alyssa Milano has to say with NBC New York about her experience with long COVID.
I would say I was acutely sick for about 12 days straight, but then never felt like I recovered completely. And still to this day, I have a lot of health issues that I didn't have before contracting COVID.
Of course. I mean, it's just so scary. Like, I was sick for 12 days, and 2 years later, I still haven't really recovered. So everybody should just remain afraid. This is never going to go away, all right?
Actress Alyssa Milano first felt sick in
Actress and activist, okay?
April 2020 with symptoms similar to a stomach bug. However, 2 days after receiving a negative COVID test, her symptoms got increasingly worse.
So she tested negative. So everything she's about to say is based on her actually testing negative, but just insisting that she has this, and it's so scary it's never going to go away, even after a negative test. So trust the science, I suppose.
And that's when it settled into my chest, and I felt like I was dying. I've never been so.
Oh, she felt like she was dying after a negative test. I mean, you're basically brain dead, I can say that much.
Sick in my life. It impacted every single part of my being. I had heart palpitations. I had shortness of breath. I couldn't smell anything. Heaviness in my chest. Like I had to focus on breathing. It felt like I was suffocating.
So let's remember, she's an actress, so this is her acting. Oh, the heaviness. What does that mean? You couldn't breathe? I mean, give it a rest. You're fine. It's 2 years later. In your mind, you want to make sure that you continue to toe this line for whatever reason. I'm not going to go into conspiracies, but it's pretty clear that you were just acting. And I don't know if somebody put you up to this or you just want the attention. I can't really say, but it's all absolute insanity.
Hi everybody. I just wanted to show you the amount of hair that's coming out of my head.
Oh, so scary. I couldn't breathe. I was losing my hair. She's making up symptoms. And again, this entire thing has been a creation of the media. And it's only, I mean, we did, WW3 and Will Smith and Ketanji Jackson and all that stuff for a little bit, but clearly we're back on this now because they just can't let it go. I mean, we're doing, Disney and creepy kindergarten teachers, all that stuff, but for whatever reason, they just cannot let this go.
As a result of COVID, one brushing.
Okay, so how does she know though? You tested negative and you're saying that you lost all this hair because of COVID. How do you know that? You're also just getting a little bit old, Alyssa. Like, how can you 100% blame this on COVID? Did you talk to Dr. Fauci and he told you that this is COVID hair? What this is in...
This is my hair loss from COVID-19.
I have always had every single symptom imaginable.
Of course, I had it all. It was the worst. I had every single thing. Every single thing I saw on TV, every single thing they told me, I had it all.
So every symptom that they list, whether it be from acute COVID to long COVID, I have had.
Well, I mean, you just made that. Long COVID? Where did it come from? Who made that up? Where is that in? I'm sorry, I'm speechless at the amount of nonsensical propaganda that they are spewing at this moment.
Shortness of breath, heart palpitations, brain fog.
You already said that. You said this like 20 seconds ago. I couldn't breathe, heart palpitations. They're just rehashing the same symptoms. Brain fog. Yeah, I bet you did have brain fog. But again, how can you prove that's from Rona? You have a foggy brain to begin with, which is, that's more credit than I'd actually be willing to give you.
The exhaustion comes at about 4 o'clock in the evening, tingling in my hands and my feet.
She gets tired at 4 o'clock in the evening and her hands and feet tingle. Again, I'd say you're just getting a little bit old. I mean, no shade, but it's like, time waits for nobody. So I don't know how you can 100% tie this to COVID, but why not, right? It's super scary.
Just forgetfulness. And I wish I could find solace in the idea that lots of people are suffering, but I don't find solace in it. I find that it only means that we're just beginning to see the repercussions of this pandemic.
The states have directed Congress to amend the Constitution.
When we go get physicals after having COVID or being positive from COVID,
you tested negative. They told us in the beginning of this video that you tested negative. So that wasn't enough for you? I mean, how many times did you go back to make sure that you could get a positive test? I mean, because she hasn't said that she's received a positive test yet. She diagnosed herself after the reporter said that she received a negative test. So how desperate were you? How many doctors did you go to make sure that you could get a positive test and make sure that everybody knows how scary this is? And that's the reason why your hair is falling out.
This should include conversation about long COVID and what can be done and if there's any supplements that you can take. The thing that really helped me was I had an infusion of iron. And we can't expect an entire generation of people who were sick with COVID and who now have long haulers to just...
Oh, long haulers. That's the thing now. We're long haulers. Yeah, I guess you are long haulers because this is a disease. This is a virus of the mind. And yeah, there's no putting that toothpaste back in the tube. You guys have been infected with this mind virus and there's no going back now. Like every time you sneeze, every time you cough, if you wake up in the middle of the night, it's all just going to be because of long COVID and you just will never let anybody rest. And I don't even know why. I mean, what does she have to gain from this? Who is she working for? I mean, I could understand why Fauci or the pharmaceutical executives want to keep this going, but what do you have? Can't you go get a talk show? Can't you get cast in a movie? I mean, I don't know too much about Alyssa Milano, but she could probably just go back to Hollywood and work, but I guess this is her Hollywood now because the news is all fake.
Disappear into the woodwork and not give us some sort of plan.
And that was another thing for me too, just really quickly. We were told that you could be asymptomatic, but just by you breathing at the grocery store, you could get somebody sick. But to figure out if you had it, they had to stick a Q-tip all the way up your nose until it touches your brain. So that didn't really make any sense to me, but none of it made sense from the beginning. And again, we don't need to rehash all of the nonsensical propaganda and just insanity and manipulation that has gone on for longer than 2 years now.
I feel like our focus has been
COVID testing site, and I encourage anybody watching this on YouTube or Rumble, I guess, to go ahead and check out my Instagram. Scroll all the way down. It's going to take you a long time. I post a lot, but I can tell you from experience that the COVID testing sites, at least in Brooklyn, New York, were completely phony. It was a whole bunch of security guards and 20-year-old kids wearing orange vests and parking traffic cones, and nothing was going on in there. That triggers me to no end. So scroll to the bottom of my Instagram if you have the time.
A little skewed throughout this entire process. I mean, I've been a UNICEF ambassador since 2003. It's not just low-income cities in our country or places in our country. We're talking about developing nations throughout the world who we have not been able to get vaccinated.
Wait, what does low income have to do with getting the shot? it's free, right? We were told that from the very beginning. Go get it. It's free. You love free stuff. Go get it, you idiot. We'll give you a cheeseburger. We'll give you a donut or some beer, and it's free. Go get the shot. So I don't know what low income has to do with any of this, but here we are.
Unless we are all safe, none of us are safe.
That makes no sense. Unless we are all safe, none of us are safe. That's absolute nonsense. Doesn't make any sense. It's a weird communist talking point. I don't really know what's going on with that.
Unless we are all being treated, none of us could be adequately treated. You know your body if you feel that something is off. Also, if you have a doctor that is discrediting what you're saying or not believing that you're still feeling sick,
Okay, so if you have a doctor that doesn't believe you, then that's a problem. But I'd be curious to would they say that the other way around? Like if you have a doctor that's not on board with this insanity, like say our good buddy, the Surgeon General out of Florida, who's not on board with the coronavirus scare tactics, he's not on board with the transition operations for kids. I mean, would you say, well, this is so clearly a one-way street. Maybe I'm getting off track a little bit here, but if your doctor doesn't agree that you're really sick, even though you tested negative and you're asymptomatic, if he doesn't believe that you're sick, then get a new one.
This is much more so the case with women in healthcare. It seems like it takes us a lot more yelling and screaming from the rooftops to be taken seriously when we do have something that we feel is off.
Oh, of course. Yeah, the doctors just don't believe women. What is actually happening? Yeah, well, a lot of doctors. So are you telling me that a doctor is more likely to believe a man, a weirdo male hypochondriac who's in the doctor's office complaining about his long COVID, but he won't believe you while you're, of course he's going to believe you. Those guys are probably corrupt too. I can't get too much into, the life of a doctor, but if it benefits them for you to be coming back, they're probably going to say, yeah, it's terrible, but moving on.
But it is really important that we document what is happening right now to get the big picture of what is happening, not only for our generation, but to get the picture when we're 10, 20, 30 years away from it. And we can look through the rear view window and have accurate information about this really devastating time.
So she clearly loves this. She's talking about 10, 20, 30 years in the future, still talking about COVID. She loves it. Like she gets attention off this. She can just say, well, I'm sick, and if you don't believe me, then you're a racist. This is a weird power grab, but also something to just maintain attention forever.
And for our final episode, we take a look at what New York City is specifically doing to treat long COVID.
Who came up with that long COVID? You guys just made that up.
So this is an exam room, and you can see it went red there.
NYC Test and Trace Corps' Dr. Ted Long takes us on a tour and shares the many services you can benefit from at the city's COVID Center of Excellence. For NBC New York, I'm Linda Gaudino.
This is absolute insanity. So it's clear that they love this idea of long COVID. They're building brand new facilities. They want to keep this going on forever. You will never. Of course, we can all talk about how maybe the 2019 normal wasn't all that great. 2020 was terrible, but they have no plans to ever let go of this. This is a source of power and a source of attention for them, and they will not let it go by any stretch of the imagination. So it's clear that we're going to sort of splinter into two groups where probably some crazy people in New York and some crazy people in California are going to just keep telling you that everything outside of your own house is dangerous, and actually some stuff inside your house is dangerous as well, and you can never live a safe life. Anything that ever happens to you is always going to be because of COVID, or I guess long COVID.